Dr. Kevin Barrett. I'm a former professor of literature and other subjects. My background, at least at the PhD level, is in African studies, with Arabic as my African language and Morocco as my main focus. I was interested in studying Islamic topics, but I got sidetracked into politics after the September 11th neoconservative coup d'etat here in the United States. I strongly opposed that event and the takeover of power by neoconservative Zionists who orchestrated 9/11 to go to war in the Middle East and take out 7 countries in 5 years, as General Clark explained, was the real purpose of the September 11th operation. Since about 2005, I've been occupied by alternative journalism, authoring, editing, translating books, and doing radio and television broadcasting, trying to push back against this neoconservative Zionist agenda that's taken over the United States since 2001. One of the biggest issues I've encountered is this transformation of the Middle East that is not limited to the destruction of Iraq and Libya and Sudan and Somalia and the attempted destructions of Syria and Lebanon, and with Iran, of course, being in the crosshairs now. Egypt, which is not being directly attacked by the United States, is targeted by this campaign to transform the Middle East for the benefit of Israel, and indeed to make Israel the imperial power that has absolute hegemony over everyone else in the region. Now, that's really what all of this since September 11th has really been all about. Let's talk a little bit about Egypt and its so-called president, al-Sisi. Is al-Sisi really a patriotic Egyptian military man? I don't think so. Evidence suggests that he is in fact the son of a Moroccan Jewish mother. His mother is Malika Titani, and according to sources, she is a Moroccan Jewish woman from Esfi, Morocco. When al-Sisi overthrew the first democratically elected government in 5,000 years of Egyptian history, it wasn't surprising that the Israeli ambassador called al-Sisi a national hero for all Jews. A national hero for all Jews. How could an Egyptian military man be a national hero for all Jews? Well, because he is a sleeper agent. His mother is in a whole family of Zionist operatives. Her brother is a major Israeli political player, and she immigrated to Egypt on a mission to infiltrate Egyptian society. That family has succeeded beyond its wildest dreams. This explains why al-Sisi has not only destroyed Egyptian democracy in the interests of Israel, because the Muslim Brotherhood, whatever one may think of its capabilities when it was briefly in power, was talking about abrogating the Camp David Accords. It was talking about actually defending Egypt against this attempt to commit genocide against Egypt by damming the Nile. The government of President Morsi at one point was considering becoming allied to or opening up friendly relations with Iran. And all of these are no-nos as far as the Israeli-dominated imperial policy in the region goes. Sisi obviously overthrew the Egyptian government on behalf of his paymasters in Tel Aviv. Everything he's done since then bears this out. And of course, it's no secret that al-Sisi was the Israeli liaison to the Egyptian military during his time as a general. When the Israeli liaison to an Arab country's military, an Arab country that, by the way, is largely occupied by and on behalf of Israel, taking billions of dollars from the American taxpayer in return for doing whatever Israel tells it, that military liaison, in this case General al-Sisi, is obviously very, very close to the Israelis. And that such a person would be the one to lead a coup d'etat, essentially that in itself shows that this was a coup d'etat on behalf of Israel. We see such coups all the time. We had one here in the United States on September 11, 2001. That was also a coup d'etat on behalf of Israel. Since taking power, al-Sisi has been taking one step after another to benefit the Israelis. He's allowed the Israelis to destabilize the Sinai. So-called ISIS in the Sinai is another Israeli-supported paramilitary operation that's used to justify closing the border with Gaza, declaring a state of emergency, and so on. And al-Sisi has gone along with all of that. But most importantly, recently, General al-Sisi is working with Trump and Netanyahu plan to formally, quote-unquote, end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which really means turning the whole region over to Israel. Basically, it's the Greater Israel Plan. It's no secret that the two blue stripes on the Israeli flags symbolize the Nile and the Euphrates. The Israelis believe that the Bible gives them all of that land, and they are planning to take it. And they have taken it. They own everything up to and including the Nile today. And al-Sisi is giving away Egypt Egypt's biggest strategic assets. Not only is he rolling over in front of this plan to dam the Nile and starve Egypt, but he's also giving away the 2 islands in the Red Sea that are crucial strategic assets for Egypt. These 2 islands command the Straits of Aqaba along Egypt's eastern border. They are key to the Israelis, who took them over during the wars with Egypt and then gave them back as part of the peace plan. And just recently, Sisi has rigged the courts in Egypt in order to allow his tiny party of military traitors, people who are bought and paid for by Israel and Israel's U.S.-American assets that allow the American taxpayer to be robbed of tens of billions a year to be handed to these thugs who rule Egypt on behalf of Israel. Well, now they are going to just hand these islands to Saudi Arabia, which in turn is handing them over to Israel. This is an outrage, as everybody in Egypt who's not on the Israeli payroll knows. The Saudi royal family is also very close to the Zionists. They always have been, but only recently have they come out and admitted it and created the beginnings of a formal alliance. And now the Saudis bribed al-Sisi apparently to the tune of $20 billion, but that's just a formality because, again, al-Sisi is Israel's agent in Egypt, so he's just following his orders as he hands over these islands that the people of Egypt are very strongly attached to. And there have been huge demonstrations in Egypt. Very, very few people in Egypt support this. There's a potential here for another Egyptian revolution. And maybe this time we'll be able to eliminate the treasonous forces that are preventing the Egyptian people from having an autonomous government taking control of their own country. The Iranians did that in 1979. It's a sad but true fact that when you're going to free your country from imperialism and colonialism, you have to rid yourself of the traitors who are willing to sell your country out to the empire that wants to rob your resources and control you. The Iranians succeeded in doing that. They were able to reduce the power of the imperial lackeys in their country that they could actually govern themselves and run an independent policy. They paid a huge price for it, but today they're reaping the benefits. They're the only independent country in the region. Egypt tried to have a revolution by people who think that they can compromise with the West and with the Zionists, and that doesn't work. You have to either execute, permanently imprison, or exile people like al-Sisi, people who are agents of the hostile powers that are occupying your country. In that revolutionary situation where a nation is trying to take back its autonomy and become a free country once again, when the Egyptian people finally rise up and take back their country from the likes of al-Sisi and his Israeli army of occupiers, they have to be removed from any chance of power, any chance of undermining your revolution. The Egyptian people don't have very long to act because they're losing their country very, very quickly. They're not just losing the Gulf, they're essentially handing over their country to Greater Israel. The Nile is currently in the hands of Israel. They're taking the islands in the Red Sea. This threat of genocide against Egypt through damming the Nile is looming heavier and heavier over Egypt. Egypt needs to be taken back by patriots. Mainstream Egyptian media doesn't want to tell the truth about these things to the people of Egypt because it's owned by the same kinds of people who own the media here in the United States. That's why we need to get the word out through alternative channels and try to help people understand what's really going on in the world and empower themselves. I'm Dr. Kevin Barrett. I write for American Free Press, the last free, patriotic American newspaper. Thank you. Have a good day.